the silliest and the classiest of all birds. Classiest because they're constantly wearing tuxedos, and silliest because when they walk, they kind of have a little waddle to them. Joel Moore once said, "It's practically impossible to look at a penguin and feel angry." Over the summer, my friend and I decided we wanted to do something right before I left for college. He had this whole day planned out, and I said, "Let's just go to the zoo." So after ruining his plans, we drove up to the Columbus Zoo, and we walked around for the entire day. I don't exactly remember what we were arguing about, but I do know I was winning the argument because he finally took me to the place I wanted to go, the penguins. I ran up to the tank to see them, and they had just come out and started swimming. I was standing at the tank, and I was just watching them for probably 10 minutes before I looked back and realized he was laughing at me. We started walking towards the koalas, and I just remembered neither of us were angry anymore, and it was fantastic. From their basic anatomy to their communities and how they care for their young, penguins are not your typical bird, and what's different about them may surprise you. When it comes to their anatomy, penguins' bones are mostly different from a typical bird. Their wings are the same so that they can swim fast and move them quickly, and they're light and frail. But most of their bones are solid and heavy like your typical animal that walks on the ground because they need that extra weight to dive deep into the water to get fish. Their feathers are different because they have more feathers than any other bird. Penguins have approximately 80 feathers per square inch of their body. And a different process that they go through is molting, where they actually lose all of their feathers once a year. Now, mind you, they don't lose all their feathers at once because then they would freeze, and that would be nice. But they also have a special gland that makes their feathers slick and shiny so that they slide through the water. Their coloring is very important for their camouflage and for surviving. It's like when you jump into a pool, when you look down at the pool, it's kind of dark and blue, but when you look up, you see the sun and it looks bright and shiny. So that's why the penguin is colored the way it is. Their stomach is white so that when a predator is below and looks up, it sees the brightness and it doesn't see the penguin. And then when a predator looks down, it sees the black and it sees that it blends in with the top of the water. So it kind of helps them hide when they're in the water. Penguins are probably the most social birds you will ever meet. They live in large colonies of hundreds or even thousands. The way they communicate is they have 3 different vocalization patterns. They have their contact call, which helps them find their colony when they're lost. They have the display call, which is the most complex, and it is helping them find a mate and claim their nest. And then they have the threat call, which warns the rest of the colony of predators. When it comes to mating, penguins are one of the only animals on the planet that mate for their entire lives. The mating process starts with a male who makes the nest. Once the male makes the nest, he starts doing the mating call, which is where they stand and they arch their back and they stick their head out and they flap their feathers and they make loud, aggressive noises until a female is attracted. Once a female is attracted, they will walk up to the male and bow to them, and if the male is attracted to the female, they will bow back. And then to claim their nest, they will make the mating call together. The only time a penguin ever changes its mate is if one returns to the nest during mating season and the other one does not. Like I said, they are very social creatures, so that they often use the buddy system. They often swim and feed in groups. You will never see a penguin by yourself, and if you do, it's generally dangerous, and they're probably leading a predator away from the rest of the clan. Penguins' young are very different from their adults, especially in their coloring. Most adult penguins you see are black and white and have the sleek and smooth feathers. Young penguins have brown, fluffy feathers, and this does not keep them very warm. Their different colors of feathers mean that they need more attention and that the parents actually have to take care of their young. By taking care of their young, that means not only do they have to protect them from predators because they stick out like a sore thumb, they also have to keep them warm because their fluffy feathers aren't as good at keeping them warm as their slick feathers. So each parent has a brood patch, which you've probably seen the picture of a parent keeping their child under the brood patch, as it looks like the mom is sitting on the baby. Penguins also keep their children in daycares. They're called creches, and what happens is when all the adult penguins want to go out and hunt, they'll leave the penguins, like the infant penguins, with older penguins who can't really hunt or penguins that are injured and can't hunt, and then they'll go off and just leave them in a group. and then they'll come back, and to find their own chick, you have to recognize the vocal patterns, because penguins each have their own voice. Kind of like my voice is different from Bryce's, the penguins each have their own different voice. Now this is Maxine. She is a South African black-footed penguin, and I actually got her that day that we went to the zoo. And if she were real, she would have the heavy bones in her body and then the frail bones in her wings. She has smooth and sleek feathers and perfect camouflage. Now, hers is a little different because she's in Africa, so she doesn't need as much camouflage on her stomach because most of her predators are outside of the water as opposed to being inside the water. Her vocalization patterns would consist of the contact call, the threat call, and the display call. She would mate for her entire life, and she would also have lots of friends that she would go hunting and feeding with. She would also, when she had her kids, she would be a very good mother, and she would sit on her child and keep them warm with her brood patch. She would notice that the coloring makes them different, and she would keep them in a daycare. So I challenge you, the next time you're looking at a penguin, waddling around in their cute little tuxedo, try to feel mad, but I bet you'll end up smiling.